Hello and welcome back to World 360. Earlier this week, US President Joe Biden invited over 100 world leaders to a summit for democracy with the aim to demonstrate America's convening power and the appeal of democracy as an ideal. Meanwhile, China, which was not invited to the summit, held what some called a propaganda blitz. Officials gathered in Beijing and some virtually to praise China's political system just days after China's State Council released a document titled China, Democracy That Works. It's safe to say that the US-China rivalry is far from over, and recently we've started to see this play out in the Middle East. No, I'm not talking about Afghanistan, but rather the UAE. On Wednesday, an Emirati official confirmed that the UAE will suspend discussions for a deal to buy up to 50 American-made F-35 fighter jets and other weapons. Lockheed Martin Corporation, which is headquartered in Maryland, manufactures these jets, and the deal with the UAE was worth $23 billion. So what was the cause of this? According to media reports, the UAE has been facing growing frustration with the Biden administration's attempts to limit Chinese technology sales to the Gulf state. Just last month, in fact, the UAE stopped work on an alleged Chinese military base after the US intervened. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, US intelligence agencies using satellite imagery found suspicious construction work inside a container terminal operated by a Chinese shipping corporation in UAE's Khalifa port. Let's not forget that just 4 years ago, the Chinese Navy established a facility in Djibouti, which was placed within a Chinese-run commercial port. As we can see, the tense relationship between the US and China is having ripples in the Middle East, and the US withdrawal in Afghanistan has made the Biden administration's engagement with this region even more difficult. As the Financial Times once put it, there is growing unease about the perceived US disengagement from the region and its commitment to its Arab partners, a concern exacerbated by the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's also worth talking about the UAE's use of Huawei 5G tech. The Biden administration is concerned that the use of this technology comes with a risk that sensitive information could be leaked to Beijing. This is actually what the Trump administration argued as well, that Huawei's tech could be used by the Chinese government for espionage. Meanwhile, the UAE has argued that there aren't a lot of cost-effective alternatives to Huawei's 5G tech, and Huawei has in the past declared it has not and will never plant back doors. Before we conclude, let's circle back to the F-35 fighter jet deal. Now, the UAE has long been one of the US's closest Middle East allies, and it has long expressed interest in purchasing these particular jets. The reason why these jets are so sought after is because of their stealth, which is made possible by aligned edges, reduced engine signature, internal carriage of weapons and fuel, and embedded sensors. The UAE was promised a chance to buy these F-35s in a side deal when it agreed to normalize relations with Israel in August 2020. If you recall, the previous Trump administration helped ink this deal, which was known as the Abraham Accords. It's clear that there are layers within the US and UAE relations. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby put it best when he said, "The US partnership with the UAE is more strategic and more complex than any one weapons sale." For now, let's watch how the US-China rivalry plays out in the Middle East in the near future. Thank you so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for ThePrint. We'll be back soon with a brand new episode.